The clash happened on an official visit to Russia designed to thaw relations which are at the lowest. For years, at a press conference, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov denied claims that Kremlin-sponsored hackers had intervened in democratic elections and said that was confirmed by his British counterpart, but before an audience of journalists and diplomats. Mr. Johnson interrupted, saying, not successfully as the word. Mr. Lavrov insisted the Western community had fabricated the story and Mr. Johnson had become hostage to this subject, meaning it was very difficult for you to climb down from the fence you have climbed. Reuters. Mr. Johnson said there was abundant evidence of Russian interference in US and French elections. It's important to deliver tough messages about the difficulties we have with Russia and not shy away from them. Boris Johnson. He used the event to attack the UK for cutting ties with Russia's security agency after the fatal poisoning of former KGB man Alexander Litvinenko in London in 2006, and he defended Russia's illegal seizure of Crimea from Ukraine on the grounds it was backed by a referendum. Mr. Johnson said there was abundant evidence of Russian interference in polls in the US, Germany, Denmark, and France. The Kremlin was accused of interfering in the Brexit vote after it emerged there were more than 400 fake Russian-linked Twitter accounts publishing posts. Reuters. Sergei Lavrov said that relations between the two countries were at a low point earlier. Mr. Johnson warned Moscow against launching cyber attacks, telling reporters, the UK is certainly prepared and able to respond, should we so desire. Mr. Lavrov criticized Mr. Johnson for not being more discreet, telling him, it is no secret that right now our relations are at a low point. We would prefer to talk about our mutual concerns not before a mic but directly. However, Mr. Johnson also said the two countries should emulate the Second World War predecessors to cooperate on global security issues despite the differences. Mr. Johnson insisted he had not gone to Russia looking for a fight, but it's important to deliver tough messages about the difficulties we have with Russia and not shy away from them. He called for efforts to rebuild a sense of trust between the populations. Friday, December 22, 2017. British Foreign Secretary Johnson attends a news conference following the talks with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov in Moscow.